Hey everyone, and welcome back to Battleborn. On this video, I'm gonna show you a build I made for Attikus I call Crash and Smash. Like any other build you might put together with Attikus, it's gonna start a little slow, but once you get leveled up to about 5 or a little bit higher, you are gonna demolish everything in your path. Now this build has a prerequisite. You need to get to max level on Attikus and complete all his lore challenges to pick up his legendary item. So let's jump into it. I'll show you my Helix choices. So for level 1, it's not that important. I find both of these options to be terrible. I go with Hedronic Siphoning. I like it slightly better than Energetic Burst. But however you want to do that is fine, but I go on the left with the Hedronic Siphoning. Level 2, I'm going to the left again. I'm going to get the Staggering Pounce. That adds a slow to anything that's hit by my Pounce ability, and that becomes super vital because the Pounce throws enemies in kind of weird directions sometimes, and you need that buffer to find them. Level 3, I go with Tenacity. You gotta go with the damage, man. You gotta go with that damage. Level 4, I go with Quickening Arc. It's really nice to have extra movement speed so enemies can't get away from you. We've already got some things in place that are going to prevent that from happening, but the extra movement speed is really nice and just helps you out a little bit more. So for level 5, I go with Hedronic Regeneration. That health regen is awesome, and if you play it right, you'll pretty much always have the 35 health regeneration up and working. So as long as you're using the build correctly, you're gonna get 35 health regeneration pretty much at all times, and it's amazing. Alright, level 6, I go with Chainbreaker. It doesn't really happen all that often when I actually kill an enemy with Pounce, but if I do, I get it back instantly, and that's awesome. So I go with that. Let's see, level 7, I go with Swift Strikes. You gotta get that attack speed in. Attack speed is amazing for Attikus. It just makes him so destructive. So any more attack speed we can get, that's gonna help a ton. Level 8, I go with Big Splash. I'm not using my Pounce for damage. I'm mostly using it to stun enemies and slow them. So I want that to hit a bigger area to just make that easier for me to set up. Level 9, I go with the middle option, Grease Lightning. Hedronic Arc doesn't really do that much damage, but to double its damage essentially by reducing the duration by 2 seconds, it helps a little bit, so that's what I like. That's the one I go with. And level 10, I go with Wake of Devastation. That makes your ultimate do quite a bit of damage, whereas before it's more utility. And it does a decent amount of damage, but it's more for the utility. But if you get Wake of Devastation, it starts to hurt a lot. So that's the one that I go with. So a big part of this build is the gear. So let's hop over. I'll show you what I'm using for the gear. And let's see, go down to my Attikus loadout. There we go. So the first item is Attikus's legendary. Absolutely vital because of that effect. So you get the 8.4% attack damage, which is nice. I like attack speed better. I wish they would have put attack speed on the legendary instead of attack damage, but whatever, I'll take it. And 3.6% skill damage increase, but the most important part, the Attikus effect, attacks charged by Hedronic Arc will slow on the first hit for each enemy. That is key, because you're going to jump in with your Pounce. It's going to slow. Hopefully you shot them into a wall, so they'll be stunned as well. You turn on that Hedronic Arc, and then you hit them, and they're slowed again, and they're not going anywhere. And you're going to just punch the crap out of them, and they cannot get away from you without using some sort of ability. Alright, second item I use is the Fortifying Aelfrin Warblade. It's got that wondrous attack speed that I love, 9.37%, and it's got me some health. Health is kind of nice, so it's a nice little bonus, but all I really care about on there is that attack speed. And then I've got this Doomsday Key. I love me some shield recharge delay reduction. I use that on so many builds now. I love it. Gets your shields back quicker. But more important than that, it's got 5.6% attack speed and gain 9.8% attack speed for 3 seconds when your shield depletes after a full charge. And that almost always happens. I pounce in, I take a ton of damage because I'm Attikus and I'm gigantic and everyone's hitting me. So bam, I jump in and now I've got 10% extra attack speed and it's devastating. So that's what I use, that beautiful Doomsday Key that you pick up from Rendane on the Heliophage mission. Alright, so now that I've shown you my Helix setup and my gear, let me show you some clips of my gameplay and I'll explain to you how to use this build. So it's important to note that this build is for incursion and meltdown game modes, but only because of the crystal cost for activating your gear. So level 1 and 2 on Attikus sucks. There's no other way to describe it. Your damage is mediocre, you have no survivability at all, and you're a giant target, so you're going to take massive damage. Your goal is to get leveled as fast as possible. You can clear minions if the enemy isn't raining down too much fire or you've got a healer to help you out. You can kill thralls if you're an incursion, or you can bide your time and wait for opportunities while picking up as many shards as possible, which is also an important part of this build to get that gear activated. If you decide to tangle with other players, you have got to be good at using Pounce to stun them on walls or maneuver them where you need them to be. It can be hard to get used to using Pounce and knowing where the enemies ended up, so get used to glancing up at the minimap to quickly see where they are after you land. Once you get to level 2, you'll get the slow effect on Pounce, which helps a lot to find your enemies before they can sprint away to safety. Just make sure you get in the habit now of activating your Hedronic Arc as soon as you land from the Pounce, because once your legendary is active, it'll apply a brand new slow to them when you land that first hit. However you feel most comfortable doing it and the current match conditions allow, get yourself up to level 3 as fast as possible. Once you're up to level 3, you'll be in a slightly better position. Your damage will increase quite dramatically with Tenacity, and if you've been collecting a lot of shards, you might already have your legendary activated or close to it. Having that slow from your legendary on Hedronic Arc hits is a massive help to taking out players, and your new damage output is going to make it easier to finish off a kill. Also, Quickening Arc from your level 4 Helix Choice will increase your movement speed, so it's going to be a huge struggle for them to get away from you. Our Crash and Smash build is starting to live up to its name now, but the problem with your survivability has not gone away yet. So you still need to be very cautious in whatever you do and only engage if you're confident you can win, or at the very least trade a kill for a kill. If the other team has a lot of ranged players or is locking up the map well, you might still be relegated to getting your experience the hard way or collecting massive amounts of shards in the backfield. If you're on Meltdown and you're just getting shards, then you need to be careful not to fall too far behind the average level of the other team. If you're on Incursion, you can take out Thrall camps to get decent experience, but Meltdown doesn't really have a secondary experience option for you, so just don't fall too far behind or you may never catch back up. If you need to eat some deaths to force the issue of getting experience, then that's a sacrifice you're going to have to make, because once you get leveled up, you'll make those kills up and you'll get your revenge. Sweet, sweet revenge. Level 5 is when you start to get powerful. You unlock your ultimate and you get crazy survivability through Hedronic Regeneration. Shooting off your ultimate with max stacks can lock down an entire team if they're huddled up in the same area. So if your teammates are ready to pounce with their attacks when you fire it off, you can wipe the floor with them in seconds. Now, up to this point in the match, you haven't really concerned yourself with stacks at all, but now it's very important to keep your stacks maxed at all times to keep that regeneration up. It doesn't necessarily need to be maxed, but your stacks should be high at all times, because the more stacks you have, the more regeneration you get. With that regeneration, you can survive some pretty nasty situations by simply running away, so resist the urge to pounce out of danger and just sprint away to keep those stacks up. Only use your ultimate if it's going to juggle multiple people on the other team, or you're confident you'll get a player kill or multiple minion kills from its use to get your charges back. One great use I found for the ultimate is for taking down a low health enemy that's running away from me that's just a little too far to use my lunging quick melee on. In that situation, firing off the ultimate can finish them off, and of course the kill will return you back to full charges. Once you get to level 5, you can still crash and smash like before, but now it's not only important that your target dies, but you're the one to get that killing blow, because you'll be sacrificing all your stacks and survivability to go for that kill. Also, by this point your legendary items should be activated, and you might even have that second piece of gear up and running, so your damage is getting pretty crazy. Most likely the other team is now extremely confused because the squishy bullet sponge from before is now laughing at their puny attacks as he caves their face in with his fist. Ah, level 7. The moment we've been waiting for. You pick up the 20% attack speed boost and you're probably close to having all your gear activated. Welcome to Bulldozer mode. Your damage output at this point is off the charts. You can melt through most enemy players' shields and health bars like butter, and outside of stunning you, there's not much they can do to stop you. I've more or less single-handedly decimated the other team post level 7 in some of my matches, and you can see some of the carnage in the clips on screen. If your team was struggling because of your poor early game performance and upset they got put on your team, they've definitely changed their mind now, as you can easily turn a game upside down in moments. I've had multiple times an incursion where I've demolished everyone on the other team and proceeded to blast through a full health sentry with my teammates before the other team even respawned. In Meltdown, you can reduce a minion wave to piles of metal scraps in seconds. It's just nasty. Often you'll become feared by the other team, and sometimes they'll just start running as soon as they see you. But they underestimate the crash and smash mobility, and bam! You send them back to their respawn. It's even easier if you're level 8 too, because you get that increased effect radius on your Pounce, so it's hard to miss. All the low level suffering is totally worth your reward in the end, and even in matches where my kill death was atrocious, like 1 kill and 9 deaths, I've turned it around to 16 kills and 10 deaths. So don't get discouraged if the enemy has your number, just find a way to level up because you'll get that revenge. If you get up to max level, the ultimate at level 10 is just an absolute damage and crowd controlled monster of an ability that allows you to wreck a whole group of players by yourself. So it took a whole lot of losing and frustration, but I'm glad I finally found a build that works for this guy because he's super fun to play if you take the time to master him, and hopefully this build will get you there. So there you have it, the crash and smash build for Attikus. My entire time getting these clips and improving this build, I literally ran into one other Attikus, and that was it. Hopefully at least some of you will give this guy some love and bring him into a match now. I hope you guys can put this build to use, and I'd love to hear how it worked out for you in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.